You're listening to the Quint podcast.
India have truly turned the tide and taken a 1-0 series lead after the first T20I against Australia in Canberra. Rahul Jadeja and his concussion substitute Chahal putting up some match-winning performances. My guest Ayaz Memon is with us. Ayaz, your thoughts on the game?
Well, I thought India fought extremely well on the field while bowling, defending what was actually a par score. It wasn't a low score, but it wasn't an intimidating score. 160 was thereabouts, was just about par. And I thought after the start that Australia got, 56 runs that Short and Finch put up, I thought this was a match that India was not or unlikely to win. And then things started turning around with Yuzvendra Chahal, who was not in the playing 11, coming in luckily for himself, unluckily for Jadeja as a concussion substitute, and then he bowled quite remarkably actually to pick up 3 wickets, and he was the guy who turned things around first before T Natarajan, the debutant, came on and finished off the match in India's favour. So if I have to pick 3 pivots in India's victory, it has to be Jadeja for the kind of finish that he provided to the innings, and then Chahal and Natarajan. So these are the 3 guys who were instrumental in ensuring an India win against, I thought, odds, because it wasn't a big score, as I mentioned, and I thought after the start that Finch and Short gave, the pressure was all on India.
I'm Mendra Dorji.
And I'm Ayaz Memon.
And you're listening to the Aussie Challenge Podcast on the Quint, powered by Farm Easy and Medibuddy. Okay, I'll quickly take you through the scores. Australia elected to bowl first at the same venue. They played the third ODI against India. Rahul opened with Dhawan and the vice-captain made 51 while other batters struggled a little. Dhawan was out on 1, Virat Kohli on 9, Sanju Samson on 23 and Hardik too managed just 16. India were 114 for 6 in 16.5 overs when Jadeja came in to bat, and his 23-ball 44 helped get India to 161 for 7. In reply, Australia had 56 on the board when they lost their first wicket. Aaron Finch out in the 8th over. Jadeja had been hit on the head while batting, and Chahal bowled as his concussion substitute, picking the wickets of Finch and also Steve Smith and Matthew Wade. Finch's 35 was the highest score among the Aussies as they managed 150 for 7 in their 20 overs and lost by 11 runs. Now, Justin Langer didn't look too happy about Chahal coming in to bowl in place of Jadeja, but what a performance he put, picking up those 3 wickets for India.
Well, that turned out to be a very significant turnaround in the match, isn't it? Chahal coming in as a concussion substitute and then taking 3 wickets. It just kind of, in a way, turned the match around on its head. It was a surprising decision to see him bat a bit, because after he got hit on the head, he continued batting Jadeja. I think what may have happened is because the ball deflected onto his helmet from his glove, and maybe nobody even bothered too much about it. At that point in time, the umpires didn't force him back into the dugout and say, no, please go and get some tests done, etc., etc. And then after that, when he struggled off the field, I think, some smart thinking in the Indian dugout, knowing that Jadeja won't be on the field, and therefore there would be a bowler shot, and they pressed Chahal into the playing arena, so to speak. And Chahal is, I think Langer was quite upset, the coach, Australian coach, because he didn't fancy Chahal coming on to bowl instead of Jadeja, because Chahal has a very good record in T20 cricket, as we know, in white ball cricket, in fact, never mind how he didn't do well in the ODI series. So I think we haven't heard the last of it. There was a bit of tutu meme as we saw between him and match referee David Boone, but ultimately the call is the match referees. The only thing one can say is that somebody in the Indian think tank, whether it's Shastri or Kohli or anybody else, did some quick thinking and pressed the authorities for a concussion substitute at that time, which paid very rich dividends for India.
Okay, now about the other Indian bowler who also picked up 3 wickets, T Natarajan made his India debut in the last match, and his T20 debut today got his cap from Bumrah, in fact, now picked up the wickets of Short, Maxwell and Starc. Finished with 3 for 30. You did say after the last game that, once he'd gotten the taste of India blue, he wasn't one of those players who was going to, just waste his chances. And of course, he's clearly not looking like he's going to be doing that.
Well, certainly not, because I really think he's a find, Natarajan, because he brings variety as a left-arm fast bowler, which the Indian team needs, because they've got so many good fast bowlers, but they're all right-handed. The other is that he's got immaculate control, and in white ball cricket, he comes in and bowls those death overs with such pinpoint accuracy, that's always a great asset. He was not in any of the squads. He had gone to Australia as 4 net practice bowlers, so to speak. I think somebody did some smart thinking in the team management and pushed him into the ODI squad, and then of course the T20 squad. He was in the T20 squad. But I think he's great value. I think we have just started to hear of T Natarajan. I think we'll hear more and more of him as time passes. Obviously, he'll have to work on a few things like his batting and his fielding, perhaps get a little sharper in the field. But where bowling is concerned, he's already, in my opinion, he looks to be a top-notcher.
Okay, Ravindra Jadeja, batting in the ODI series was great, of course, and now in this game as well. I'm sure you followed his career a lot. What did he start as, Ayaz? Did he start as a bowling? I mean, when he started as an all-rounder, was he known more as a bowling all-rounder or as a batting all-rounder?
Well, in domestic cricket and for Saurashtra, for whom he plays, he's actually got a couple of triple centuries to his credit in the Ranji Trophy. And it's not like last year or, in the last 18 months. This has happened 4, 5, 6 years ago. So even earlier, he's shown his prowess with the bat. When he got into the Indian team, it was primarily as a bowler, not as a batsman. So he was a bowling all-rounder, not a batting all-rounder. But I think, over a period of time, he's realized, and this is interesting because the first preferred all-rounder was Ravichandran Ashwin. When Ashwin fell out of favour, especially in white ball cricket, somebody had to step up as an all-rounder. And we have 2 of them now, Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja. And then Hardik got injured about a year and a half back. So he's pretty much sensed the opportunity that not just his bowling, but his batting is also extremely valuable to the team. And it affords him the opportunity that if he doesn't click in one department, he can click in the other. And I think he's worked very hard on his batting.
KL Rahul, he opened today. We asked that question in the ODIs, in the last one at least, if he would open or not. Of course, he didn't. How different is batting in these 2 limited overs formats as an opener, Ayaz?
Well, it is very different. The field placing is different. The power play number of overs that there are different. On a pitch which has some assistance for fast bowlers, you might even see 2 slips. In an ODI match. You'll hardly ever see 2 slips in a T20 match. So there are different restrictions, and there are different openings, so to speak, available to batsmen at the top of the order. KL Rahul has been batting quite superbly in T20 cricket. We've seen right through the IPL and even before that. So in my opinion, again, I was one of those who believed he should have opened even in the ODIs, but that didn't happen. However, in T20 there was no question of not opening with him. And giving a right-left combo with Shikhar Dhawan, India that kind of advantage. Shikhar Dhawan didn't click today, but the thinking is right. And I think that, KL Rahul is really the man who can give you that ballast at the start. He's the kind of guy who can take the bowlers to the cleaners right from the beginning. He and Dhawan could be a lethal combination or are a lethal combination if both click. But otherwise, I think Rahul's current form is so... has been so magnificent that it would be, you have to give him the maximum number of deliveries and overs to play in this form, not push him down the order and say, okay, you'll get 10, 12, 15, 18 deliveries.
One player who actually was making a comeback into the Indian team today was Sanju Samson. Lots of fans he has. Of course, there is Gautam Gambhir and Shashi Tharoor who have been talking about why he hasn't got more chances to play for the Indian team. So today, of course, he did make 23 off 15. Ayaz, what do you make of that performance today?
Sanju Samson should himself think that he's gone beyond showing the promised stage. He's been around for 6-7 years. So you can think of a promising player when he's not played. He's just been around for a year or less than a year. But in today's day and age, there's so much cricket being played. You can't be a promising cricketer for 7, 8, 9 years. Then you're actually a has-been. If you take that long to reach maturity. I thought he started extremely well, as he always does. But he also took a great catch. There was a misfield also. So I think he's a superb talent, as we all know. It's just that he needs to make those efforts once he's there in the Indian team count with more substantive scores. I think that's really the issue.
Okay, finally, now my last question, Ravindra Jadeja. If his injury does turn out to be something a little more serious and does rule him out for a few games, what does India do now? Of course, I do see Chahal coming into play, but there might have to be some other changes in the lineup as well. How do you see things moving around?
Well, there's Mayank Agarwal who can come in. He's been one of those who made a lot of runs in the IPL, but again as an opener. There are many. The options are there. There's somebody like Ajinkya Rane who is part of the squad because you can interchange players. He's been selected for the test squad, but he's available. So, I don't think that the batting options are an issue. I think it's the bowling which would be the issue, because with Jadeja there, you don't need to pick two spinners. You need to pick only one spinner and you get a batsman also. I think if he's not playing, then the issue will be that who will also be your other spinner apart from Washington Sundar. It could be Chahal, but then you're a batsman short. So that's really the fix and the dilemma that the Indian think tank will face.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us, Ayaz.
Thank you, Minda.
And thank you all for listening to the Aussie Challenge Podcast with Ayaz Memon on the Quint, powered by Farm Easy, India's largest online pharmacy, and MediBuddy.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.